everyone, and welcome to Dream Vessels and our Maker of the Month series. You guys, I am so excited to introduce you to the incredible founder of Nokomis Home Fragrance, the one and only Lymarie Jimenez. Lymarie, how are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you?
So good. So nice to meet you, and congratulations for being the Maker of the Month for this month.
Thank you.
We are so excited to just kind of dive into your story, dive into your inspiration, like what got you here, what keeps you going, all of that. So let's just get started with some background info. How does that sound? Sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay,
Sounds
great.
good.
So before you started this incredible candle making company, what were you up to? What was life like before candles?
I was actually a pastry chef. So I went to culinary school a million years ago. I know I might look young, but I actually just turned 40. So
happy birthday! That's incredible.
Thank you.
I would have never guessed you're 40 years old.
So 19 years ago, I went to culinary school. So it was a very long time ago. And so I started off as a regular chef, and then I switched to pastry, and I'd been a pastry chef for the last maybe 12 years.
Okay.
And that's what I was doing right up until I started my business.
Wow. So you were a pastry chef. Now, did you work in a location, or did you do catering? I'm just interested in what that life was like for you.
Yep. So I've been a pastry chef at a few different places. I've been a restaurant pastry chef. I've been a corporate pastry chef where I was in charge of multiple restaurants. And then the last time I was a pastry chef was at a country club.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you really kind of like ran the gamut of pastry.
Yes.
That's so exciting. So I can already tell that with that type of background, you're a very creative being. I mean, obviously, if you're creating pastries, you are already like in your creative lifestyle, which is just so interesting. Now, is your home fragrance company the first business you've ever owned?
No,
it isn't. Okay.
I actually did have a brick and mortar bakery.
Okay.
As well. But that was in Minnesota, and now I live in Florida. So I, obviously closed that, but yes, I have had a bakery before.
Got it. And you're originally from Puerto Rico, is that right?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Dorado, Puerto Rico.
So Puerto Rico, it was Puerto Rico, then Florida, Minnesota. Tell us.
Actually, it was Puerto Rico, and then my family, we moved to Tallahassee. My mom finished her doctorate at FSU, go Seminoles. And then we moved to Minnesota, and that's where I lived for quite a long time, probably like 20 years. Met my husband and everything. And then we moved down to Florida, back to Florida, like 6 years ago.
Okay, great. So right now you're based in Florida, correct?
Yes.
Okay, got it. I'm making sure to connect all the dots to make sure they're keeping up. So now let's talk about where candles came into play for you. I mean, coming from being a pastry chef, coming from Puerto Rico and living in, Minnesota and Florida. When did candles or candle making, when did this come about for you?
So this is actually a story I love to tell because it's one of those just out of nowhere stories.
Okay.
And it actually starts with my baby girl, Nokomis. So yes, so Nokomis is an IVF baby, and I am very open about talking about, my infertility struggles, and it's all on my webpage. And so she's an IVF baby. She's our little miracle child. And because of that, when I got pregnant with her, which was August of 2020, I knew that 2020.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes. August of 2020, I knew that I could not be a pastry chef much longer. The hours, especially in season in Florida, are insane. 60 hours a week, very few days off. And I really felt like I didn't want to miss anything. I didn't want to miss her first steps, her first words, like her first birthday, which I would have missed actually. So in the back of my mind immediately, as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I said, I need to think of something, like just start a side hustle that I could maybe eventually turn into a full-fledged business. So I was thinking like years, maybe in like 5 years, I'll be able to do this full time, and then I can devote more time to my daughter and all that. And then around the same time, so my husband loves to burn candles. I mean, in every room for hours at a time. I was doing my monthly candle purchase, spending $200 at Home Goods on candles. And when I got home, I joked with him and I'm like, I bet you it would be cheaper if I just made the candles. And that literally sparked it.
Stop.
Just that joke where I just kept thinking about it. I'm like, I wonder how hard it would be to make a candle. And then Google started, and then YouTube, and next thing you know, I'm ordering wax and wicks, and that's kind of how it was born.
That's so exciting. I very rarely hear, especially wives, saying that it was actually the husband who was the big candle buyer in the family.
I mean, I love candles, but he was ridiculous. He would literally put them in every room and burn them all at once for like the entire day.
Oh.
Because he wants the house to smell good, but he doesn't really like Febreze or, sprays or things like that. And so he would have them in every room, and it was just hilarious. So I was like, I bet you it would be cheaper for me to make them.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. Tell us a little bit about like what, after you said, I bet I could do this and make it for cheaper, like what was the next step after that? Like, did you make a business plan, or did you start, researching different businesses on YouTube? Like how did you make that a reality?
What I started doing was a lot of research. It was a full year before I launched. So for me, it was really important that I knew what I was getting into. I did a lot of testing, a lot. I tested and I just learned, I learned the science behind making candles. I learned what happens to how the fragrance and the wax combined. I learned about all the different waxes and how they react. So I'm someone that when I get into something, I research, I learn. I really want to know what I'm doing because I want to do it well.
Yeah.
So that was the first step, was a lot of research, a lot of video watching.
Yeah. For those watching, like where can they find this information that was so helpful for you?
YouTube. I mean, just looking up how to make a candle, literally on YouTube. And there's some YouTubers that I followed that, I'm happy to mention, but that I started watching their channels and I'm like, oh, okay, I think I can do this. Like they're making it seem kind of, not necessarily easy, but approachable. Like it's something I could do. And so yeah, that's what I started doing, was watching the videos. And then as I got more comfortable with the terminology and the different kinds of waxes and all that, that's when I started ordering small quantities to test out.
Got it. So how does owning your own candle home fragrance business feel different from your pastry business? Because I imagine it takes a lot of time, to get the products that you want and the candles to be up to the standards that you want. What has that been like for you?
Well, surprisingly, it's actually very similar. I found so many similarities between being a chef and being making candles.
Yeah.
You have a recipe that you have to follow. Your recipe, you're basically trying out different recipes. You have to try out different wicks and different waxes and how they react with different size vessels and percentages of, fragrance. And so it really is a science, just the way pastry is a science. So I found the two to be very similar. And I think maybe that's why I kind of picked it up as quickly as I did, was I was already used to trying out recipes, testing things. That's something that's very common for chefs to do. So maybe that's why I found it a little bit easier to get into. Like I didn't find it so daunting or some people, they hate testing. And for me, it's actually kind of fun. You get to try different things out and it's, very scientific, and I actually kind of like it.
That's so interesting. I would never think to put those two, careers or products together, but you're absolutely right. Like the foundation is very much the same. So it sounds like you already had like that knowledge of really creating
Mhm.
creating products. And I just think that's so interesting. I never would have thought to put those together, but it makes so much sense.
Well, and the funny thing was too that I was like, well, I've already got an apron, I've already got a kitchen scale, I've already got I already had so many. I already have a heat gun because I work with chocolate. I'm like, I've already got all this stuff,
Wow.
and basically it was just wax, wick, and a fragrance that I had to buy.
Made for you.
Yep.
So well, in a moment, I want to get into like your actual product offerings and like your inspirations and that. I want to talk a little bit more about 2020. So 2020 is when you found out that you were pregnant with your baby. What was that experience like? And was that around the same time that you decided to start the business? It was in 2020, right?
Yes. Yep. They were literally weeks of each other.
Weeks. So you were like growing a baby and starting your own business. I mean, two of the hardest things that you could ever do, but
Yep.
you made it happen at the same time. How did you balance that? How did you handle
The
that?
funny thing was I was working full time, and while pregnant, I was doing all my testing, which thank God my daughter did. It was a very easy pregnancy. I didn't get sick at all. I didn't get nauseous or anything.
Amazing.
So I was able to do all my testing, and yeah, I mean, I worked up until like a week before I gave birth.
Wow.
So
So
yeah.
it is possible. It is possible. The reason I ask is because it just seems like those are two like really large tasks. And for you to
They
get
are.
it done at the same time or cultivate like and create at the same time is just so inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, I'm one of those people that I'm always got a million things going on in my mind. And I even said to myself, I'm like, I'm going to need some sort of side hustle because during my pregnancy, like maternity leave, I'm going to be bored. I actually said that.
Wow.
Because to me, I was like, I need something to keep my mind like occupied and going. And that's what motivates me, is having the ideas and doing the research and things like that. That's what I really thrive on.
Oh, that's so exciting. Oh, you're such an inspiration in so many ways. I mean,
Stop it.
You make it happen. I mean, a lot of people talk about making it happen and like, want to make it happen, but actually putting like, boots to the ground and just getting it done is really inspiring. And I can't wait for others to watch this and see that it can be done, even when you're growing a baby inside of you for the first time. You know what I mean? So,
Yep, it can be done. I'm one of those really tenacious people that if someone tells me I can't do something, I have to do it just to spite them. Like I'm definitely one of those that if I want to do it, I do it.
I love it.
I find a way and I do it.
Now let's talk a little bit about like Nokomis. Let's talk about your product offering. So what makes your brand different from the million other candle brands that are out there? What makes your home fragrance line special?
Well, one thing that I really noticed the market was missing was a truly sustainable candle that was luxury. I think a lot of the times when people think of eco-friendly or, sustainable, they kind of think, like hippies and, they don't necessarily, luxury doesn't come to mind. And that's what I wanted to make, was a truly sustainable candle from start to finish. So I think that's what makes mine very different, because I made sure that every single step that I take is sustainable and I really think about it. We are currently operating 100% plastic free.
Wow.
All of our packaging, even our shipping materials, everything. So from start to finish. So the vessel itself is reusable. The wicks are FSC certified. The wax that we use is sustainably sourced. All of our fragrances are phthalate, sulfate, and paraffin free.
Amazing.
Then the packaging. So all of my boxes are biodegradable. They're on recycled cardboard, and they're also printed with organic, low volatile inks. And so I got very lucky that the box company that I found was a sustainable one. Like, they're the kind that where they get their materials from. For every tree that gets cut down, they plant 4. Wow. And that's, so I was very lucky there that I was like, oh, that's fantastic, because that's totally in line with my brand. And then on top of that, we went one step further to kind of lessen our carbon footprint. And for every candle that is sold, we donate a tree through One Tree Planted.
Wow. Wow.
So like I said, I wanted to give customers an upscale experience, because I mean, our fragrances are upscale, the vessels are obviously beautiful. And everything that we do is really high quality, but it's also like a candle you can literally feel good about buying, because it is sustainable from start to finish.
And why is sustainability so important to you? And why is it so important to your brand?
Well, I've always been a nature lover. You know, my birthday's in April, and so I've always celebrated, it's close to Earth Day. And so I've always been big on like Earth Day, recycling, all that has always been very important to me. And when I started this company, and I started it with my daughter's name, I knew that I wanted her to have a legacy that would be something that would make a difference. I didn't want to create just a business to make money. I wanted to create a business that she could be proud of one day, to say like, this is a business that actually like tries to make a difference, as opposed to just, you know, I mean, making money is great, but
but making,
you know, I really thought about that, about the legacy that I want this business to leave.
Yeah, that is just so incredible. And so you just keep inspiring me, Lymarie. I mean, I don't know what else you can say to make me more inspired by your story, but it's really incredible and so commendable. Talk to us a little bit about, so you have a wholesale business, correct? Like
Yes.
you deliver directly to customer, but you also do wholesaling.
Yes, I do.
Tell us about how you got started with, you know, how did you get into the wholesale market first off? Like, how did you get into stores? Like, how did you make that happen with a company that just started literally 2 years ago? And you're already, and then we've about your brick and mortar opening soon, but like, how did that happen?
Well, the funny thing with wholesale was I didn't do anything.
What?
No. So I launched my business in June of, like, officially launched to sell after testing, June of last year.
Okay.
And 2 weeks later, I was contacted by Whole Foods that they wanted my candles in their stores.
Lymarie, wait, okay. So this is the question that I'm sure viewers are going to be asking. How did Whole Foods find you?
Instagram. I tell everybody I meet, Instagram has landed me so many opportunities, you have no idea. I have gotten so many huge, and I mean huge, tens of thousands of dollar clients through Instagram. I was featured in a magazine through Instagram. I got into a subscription box. They contacted me via Instagram. So Instagram to me is like bread and butter. Like, that is what, if I could give any piece of advice, it's pay attention to your Instagram. Do your advertising on Instagram and make sure your Instagram is on point. But so that's what happened. And it's funny when people are like, oh, what did you approach them? How did you do it? And I'm like, they emailed me. And the email literally said, my coworker saw your candles on Instagram. We thought they'd be a great fit. What do you think?
Incredible, Lymarie.
Yeah.
So, like, did you utilize like hashtags and like, none of that?
I'm terrible at hashtags. No, when I remember to use hashtags, I use hashtags, but no, I would use certain hashtags, like obviously sustainable, eco-friendly, things like that.
Wow. So the only marketing that you did at that point was through Instagram, nothing else.
Correct. And even then I wasn't doing ads.
Wow.
So I was just posting, and I was posting, you know, my journey of starting the candle company, and, you know, posting like when I got my boxes done and when I'd be testing and things like that. That's all I was doing. And I was just trying to help and promote this, you know, sustainable brand that I was launching. And yeah, it just happened to be that I got this random email that I thought was fake. And yeah, it turned out to be true. And so currently we are in 30 Whole Food stores.
Wow, that is incredible. That is
I am also in some other boutiques as well, some like Florida boutiques, but I mean, my bread and butter is the Whole Food stores.
wow. And so also before we kind of opened up our interview, we were talking about how you think competition is a good thing. So tell us the story about getting like your friends involved in Whole Foods too. Like what was that experience like? Like what led you to be so kind and giving, and how did that actually come to fruition?
Well, the funny thing is, I'm a big believer that competition is a good thing. You know, if you didn't have competition, you wouldn't strive to be better every day. So the fact that there are thousands and thousands of candle companies is not necessarily a bad thing, because what I've noticed is there's no brand out there like mine. And, you know, probably if you work on your brand and you know what your company stands for, there's probably going to be no company like yours. And so what I've noticed is, I mean, in my area alone, there's dozens of candle companies, dozens. I see them at markets all the time.
Right.
I'm in networking groups with them, and I support them all 100%. Because again, their brands aren't like mine.
Right.
And so there's no reason why. I remember once we were at a market where there was 5 candle brands and we all did good business. So that's just a reminder that, I mean, it's possible that, I mean, and so this girl, her brand is totally different from mine. And she got, she emailed Whole Foods asking, you know, to have her candles in there. And so they emailed her back this form that she had to fill out. And if you do know anything about wholesaling with a national retailer, it might as well be written in a different language, because it's really difficult to decipher. But since it was the same one, you know, the same wholesaler that I have, I just kind of helped her and let her know, okay, this is what they're asking for. This is what they mean when they say this, you know, this is, you know, when they ask this question, this is what they want. And just, you know, kind of walked her through it so that she could submit it successfully. And, you know, that's something I have no problem doing, because like I said, I would love to walk into a Whole Foods and see her candles next to mine. I think that would be awesome.
Oh, that is so inspiring. And I think something that we don't hear enough of, you know, we don't hear enough of, you know, how important it is to help each other and to collaborate and things of that nature. You talked a little bit about your networking groups.
Yes.
Tell us about how you found them, who they are, how others can get involved. Tell us like how that has come about for you.
Well, for me, networking groups are actually really important. I get a lot of support from them. And currently I'm part of like 3 or 4 networking groups in the area. They're all for female-owned businesses. So I get to really network with other female owners. And sometimes we do business together. I've gotten some private label clients out of it. But really, we just support each other. You know, so many of them from those groups are coming to my grand opening, and they're for my store, and they're, you know, talking to all their friends about it. And, you know, when they have their grand openings or they have events, I do the same thing. So it's really a support network. And I think that's really important when you're starting a business, because that's what helps you really get your name out there and helps you in your local community, which should be your first start. Like, don't try to be nationwide immediately. Try to really be a presence locally and then grow from there.
Really, really good advice. Now, how did you find these networking groups?
Instagram.
Instagram. So you literally just searched you know, networking groups or female-owned networking groups? I mean, to make it
actually, the first one, so one of my friends has a boutique, and my candles are in the boutique, and she was friends with the owner of a networking group.
Got it.
And so that was the first one that I joined.
Okay.
And then from there, you get to, you know people, and they're like, oh, I'm in this group, and I'm in this group, and you find them on Instagram. Next thing you know, I think in my area, there's probably maybe 5 or 6 that are female-led, for female owners. And so I pretty much know all of them. And you get to know each other, you know, the groups kind of interact with each other at different times. And like I said, I think it's really important to establish yourself with other business owners if you want to succeed locally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important. You're just dropping so many gems, Lymarie. I mean, here you say like it's so important to start off locally and really important to get your roots like where you are first, and to understand that like you will grow and expand in time, but how important it is to just start where you are. Just start where you are can really make a huge difference. Oh my goodness, I just cannot. We have so much more to talk about. The first half of this interview has already been incredible. I mean, we learned about your journey with motherhood and your pastry making and how you used your creative juices, from other industries and really intertwined it with creating this company, which I think is so inspiring and so important for people to hear. It's like, of course you can go on YouTube and learn like the logistics of everything, but so many times we already have most of the tools that we need to get started, right? And it's just about taking that step. So what do you think was the one moment that was like, okay, I'm actually going to do this? Was there like a kind of a flick of the wrist that made you like just decide like, nope, I'm doing it.
Honestly, it was when I registered my company with the state.
You registered your company with the state.
When I registered it, I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm doing this. I'm hitting send. Like, I'm an official LLC. I'm an official business, and that's kind of when I was like, okay, I'm all in.
Yeah, and what was that process like? Like, is it difficult to start your LLC? Can you learn how to do this?
It varies by state, because some states make it very simple. Thankfully, Florida does. You literally fill out like 3 pages and pay a fee, and you're done. So mine took about 15 minutes online. I know some other states have different requirements. You might have to go in person, or the fees are much higher. But for Florida specifically, it was very, very simple. So I was thankful for that.
Incredible. So wonderful. So this is going to wrap up part 1 of our interview, but everyone watching, make sure you come back for part 2, because we are really going to dive into Lymarie's brand. We're going to dive into her beautiful, beautiful photography on Instagram that has gotten her the attention from some huge, huge businesses. So we can definitely learn from her on that. We're going to talk about her grand opening of her brick and mortar store, July 23rd of this year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I mean, going from like starting your business in 2020 to opening a brick and mortar store in 2022 is huge. So I cannot wait to talk to Lymarie about how she got there. So we are going to wrap up this first half, and make sure you guys join us back for the second half. There is so much more to learn. So much more to learn. Okay. We'll see you back soon. Thanks, guys.